Hey guys, how you doing? It's Rafi again with KSuspension, and today I am super excited to be announcing that we are going to be putting on some RockSlide Engineering power step sliders. This is an awesome innovative idea. It acts as your sliders, you know, when you're going off-roading, and also when you open the door, it's got a nice little step that drops down so you can get in a little bit easier. This is a pretty much bolt-on application. I'm going to show you guys how to make this happen. This is a 2014 JK. This does also work on the JLs. They do offer it for the JL. Slightly different, like bolting, but pretty much all the same thing. I think the main difference is the actual brackets that are provided with the steps. We are also going to be putting on some new skins. We're taking these ones off and we're putting on the RockSlide Engineering skins. Very excited about those. Thankfully, they sent us a blank set so we can drill our own holes, since these ones have a different mounting pattern than theirs usually does. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start taking this thing apart. I'm going to show you guys how to get everything installed, wired up, and working. Let's get going. So we're going to start off by taking off these old skins. Alright, so now that we got our new skin on, we can go ahead and start setting up to put the slider step on. So in order to do this, you want to go ahead and make sure that all of your pinch rail holes are clear. On the very front, on the JKs, there is a 10mm bolt that you're going to have to remove as well. You're going to be reinstalling that, so make sure you save that bolt. I believe on the JLs there's two. I believe there's two on the front, two on the back. You want to go ahead and take those out. You will be putting them back in. So we're going to go ahead and take out this front one. All of our pinch rail is all open, so we're good there. And then your main body bolts. There's going to be 3 main body bolts that go to the bottom of the Jeep here. You want to go ahead and loosen those down so that you can move the washer. About a 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch, nothing too crazy. But we're going to go ahead and break those loose. It should be a 19mm. And yeah, then we can put on the new slider. So before we put the slider on, there's this little bumper strip that we're going to have to put on right underneath where the edge kind of angles down from the body. In this case, it'll be going on the skin itself. This is a just sticky tape, so make sure you line it up, peel the tape off, go ahead and firmly press it on there to sit properly. These are directional, so make sure that you're putting the right one on the right side. If you look at it, there is a crease right here, like a little missing spot, a little cut. That is going to go towards the rear of the vehicle. So I'll show you here in just a second, but if you go to the rear of the vehicle, you line up that little cut with the body line there and stick it on. That way you know for sure it's straight, and you'll be able to tell as well because this thing will line up right against that entire bottom support area. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so now that we're at the rear of the Jeep, we're going to go ahead and hook up the little bumper pad here. So when you line this up, this little cutout here is going to line up with this last little notch on the frame. So this little divot here should line up with the actual frame here as well on the pinch weld. You're going to just line up that little cutout, and it's going to sit just like that. So we're going to go ahead and peel this tape back and push this on here to hold. just make sure that this rail here goes underneath your skin if you have a skin on. If not, make sure it's just lined up with this down bend, this little angled bend on the frame here, right above the pinch weld. All right, so here comes the heavy lifting portion of the job. I would highly recommend you phone a friend. This thing is not very easy to put on by yourself. It's not impossible. Unfortunately, I am by myself right now, so I'm just gonna have to kind of figure it out as I go. So when it comes to installing the actual step, there are these studs right here, and they go throughout the entire body. So there's 2 on top, 2 in the middle, 2 on the front. These things are actually gonna go ahead and slide right into the pinch weld of the Jeep. So all the holes that are available there, this thing's gonna slide into. Now the cool part about this is once you slide it in, it'll hold itself. So you don't have to sit there and struggle to hold it as you put in the retaining nuts and tighten them down. And before we put this in, we're gonna go ahead and throw the brackets in that are meant to hold this down. So they're actually gonna slide into those body bolts that we loosened, and then you're gonna tighten it down to the step itself so that you have some reinforcement there. So let's show you what that is. Okay, so when we're putting in these brackets, these are going to slide in to those body bolts, and this is what's going to bolt into the slider in order to support everything. There are 3 brackets, front, middle, rear, and they are directional. So we have a short one here. Again, this is for the JK, so this one's going to be the front. We have a slim, kind of longer one. This will be for the middle. And we have a long, slim one. This will be for the rear. For the JL, again, same type of bracketry. I think the brackets look a little bit different, but same concept. There is a front, middle, and rear. So I'll make sure to try and throw a picture of where each of these brackets go and what they look like here in the video so you can kind of see. Use it as a map, but these we're going to go ahead and slide into those body bolts and then put the slider on. So as far as these go, you want to go ahead and make sure that the bracket is facing down, and you're just going to push these washers up, slide it right over the bolt there. In fact, I'm going to bring this in a little bit because we don't need that much wiggle room. I'm going to go ahead and just tighten this up just a bit. You only need about a 1/4 inch or so. There we go. So that way when you put the slider in, you can move this up a little bit to clear and go over the slider. So these will be on top of the bottom part of the slider, and then you can send your bolts in through the bottom. So we're gonna go ahead and set these on for front, middle, and back, and then put that slider on. She's heavy. So once you get everything in, you're going to notice that these brackets here go right above the bottom part of the skid. That way you can put your bolts through. And also we're going to have these slots right here. If you look up in there, you can see that the studs are sticking out there. So we're going to have 2 studs there, front, middle, and back. You want to go ahead and throw a washer and a nylock nut on there. A couple of these are 5/16, a couple of these are 1/4. So just make sure you get the right nylock nut on there, and then we're going to tighten those down. When you start these, go ahead and just throw them in there finger tight and tighten everything down at the same time. So these body bolts, everything to suck it up, and then the pinch weld. In our case, we have a armor plate that is going over this, so we're actually going to put that on and then send these bolts through. All right, so this is the armor plating for the skip plate that's going to go on top of the step slider. So just a little added protection. Still pretty heavy. This thing feels like it's about, I don't know, 50-60 pounds. So again, I would recommend 2 people, especially since there's no way of really setting this on there and it holding itself. You have to get the bolts through it in order to hold it. So get a couple of your 5/16 bolts with a washer ready. If you're by yourself, set it on up there, send a couple bolts through, one on each end to hold it up, and then you can finish putting the rest of the bolts in. So let's try this out. At this point, let's go ahead and grab the rest of your 5/16 bolts. Make sure you throw a washer on there and start the other 10. I guess there's 12 altogether. So start the other 10 bolts in there. Don't drop your drill. And we're going to go ahead and throw those nylock nuts and washer up on those pinch weld bolts as well. So let's get this on. We're going to go ahead and tighten down those pinch seam nuts onto the studs, and that original bolt that you took out of the front here, we're going to go ahead and put that one back in too. Well guys, there you have it. The heavy lifting is over. So at this point, what we're going to go ahead and do is lower the vehicle back down and tear into the interior to run all the wiring. So the electrical connections for these sliders are in the back. Also, there is the optional light kit that they offer. In this case, we do have the lights, so we're going to figure out where to mount those without them getting caught in any rocks or obstructions. But we're going to have to remove a couple of the panels on the driver and passenger side. Rip up the carpet, that way we can run all the wiring underneath it. Nice clean finish, and I'll show you guys how to get everything all plugged in. So let's get her torn apart. Alright guys, so we're going to move on to the electrical side of things. Now in order to get everything routed properly, we're going to route everything underneath the carpet. So for those of you with the JKs, you're going to have to go ahead and pop these little plastic clips out. So get yourself a little clip removal tool. Pop these plastic push pins up, and we're gonna move this entire center plastic bezel here out so that we can get to the carpet and lift it up. Same thing on the passenger side. Go ahead and remove that plastic cover so that we can get the carpet up. Easiest to push the seats forward. That way, you know, we have some breathing room here, and we're gonna go ahead and take this off here. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and lay out all of our controls here. So these are going to be our lights. We'll hook these up here in a bit. These are just sticky, but we'll put them underneath the frame there. This is our main module here. Stamped RockSlide Engineering. So this we'll mount this under the seat or something. Here we have our switch. So this will control the power to the step sliders. And this is the main harness. Well, it looks simple enough. Okay, so we have two main areas. Looks like this part here is with the fuse, so this will go to the battery, and we'll route this to inside the cab. Looks like everything's pretty much quick connect, so this ought to be plug and play. I'm kind of excited. They did a very good job on this. Good sheathing. All right. I assume this will be for one side. Awesome. So it looks like all of our electronics are here, so we're going to go ahead and hook this up to the battery, route it inside the cab, and then we will start running these wires to the back and each side for the step sliders so that they can get power. All right, let's go. All right, guys, so we're underneath the hood here. We're going to go ahead and run our main power wire. So this end here goes inside the vehicle. That's going to connect to the main harness. Throw that way. We'll route it up against the firewall here and zip tie it to the main loom. That way it's clean and out of the way. As far as your main power and ground, looks like they gave you quite a bit of lead here, so we can actually hook it directly to the battery posts. And we have 2 batteries in here, which is awesome, by the way. Great system. So we'll just like that. We'll have good power, good ground. Should be good to go. And as you're setting this up, go ahead and take this fuse out. That way when you hook everything up, you don't have any power going anywhere. Don't have to worry about any shorts. You can go ahead and secure this. So just hook it on one of these posts here for the positive and negative. And then, you know, obviously when you're all done, we can put the fuse back in, power everything on. All right, so at this point, what we're going to do is actually take this, was it 18-pin Molex with the connections over to the passenger side underneath the carpet. Okay, so once you get everything routed over to the passenger side, there's going to be a green and tan wire that's going to go up to the front passenger side so that we can push it down underneath the floorboard and hook everything up. So both on the passenger and driver side, if you lift up the carpet, you'll see that there's going to be a plug right there. We're going to go ahead and remove these plugs. It'll be behind the seats, behind the front seats, and we're going to run our main power wires down through it. The red and black will be for the step sliders. This small wire is actually for the door sensor, so this will stay up here. And the last one will be the pink and brown. This is for the light kit. So if you don't have the lights, just tuck this away. If you do have the lights, run it down that hole and we'll plug it in. Once you got the wires routed down, we're going to go ahead and grab the plug off of the slider, plug it into the main harness. You get a nice solid connection, lock it down, and then after you go ahead and plug in your lights as well, go ahead and pull up any excess wire that you have. That way you can tuck it in up top underneath the carpet, and then we can zip tie these up out and out of the way. Back on the driver's side, we're going to go ahead and feed the main power and switch wires along with the yellow and orange wires up to the front. The orange and purple wire will stay back here for the rear door switch. So we're going to route these under the carpet and over to the driver's side front. Okay, so at this point what we're going to do is go ahead and mount the door sensors onto the Jeep. So that's going to be this part right here. It does come with some sticky tape. So what we're going to do is go ahead and mount this sensor just right here underneath the door latch, and then we'll mount the magnet over on the door so that when you shut the door, this will read and we can open and close the sliders. So make sure, again, nice clean surface. There's some included sticky tape here, so we're going to go ahead and mount this. Perfect. Might need a couple more pieces. And after you got it mounted, we can go ahead and plug it into the main harness. And we can go ahead and tuck this out and away, and this is a pad with some sticky tape. That way we can stick it underneath the main body panel here so that it doesn't move. Now when mounting the main magnet on the door, make sure that you line it up so that when you shut the door, this magnet goes towards the sensor. So back on the passenger side here, if you remember, we brought our 18-pin Molex here. We're going to have to connect this module, which is the brains of the outfit. Best place that we found to secure it is actually going to be underneath the passenger rear seat. Use a couple zip ties, you can use some tape, Velcro, whatever it is that you desire. Just make sure that wherever you tuck it up underneath there, when you fold the seat down, it doesn't hit anything. Now, one of the final steps here is going to be this bracket. This is going to be for the switch that's provided in order to power your step sliders and lights. So in order to do this, on the JK models, you should have a couple bolts right over here that this bracket will essentially, like that, there we go. It'll slide into those bolts, and then you have your switch right here on the lower part of the Jeep. On the JLs, I do believe you can use the OBD port bolts to slide this over, and then you have your switch right in front of it. So we're going to go ahead and take out these two bolts here that this strap is on, slide this in, and one thing to make sure of is when you're connecting everything, you have your main 3 wires here, and you have a ground. The ground you can just throw behind one of the loose bolts, tighten it down, that way you complete the circuit. And then these wires go right onto here. Gold is ground. The other 2 wires can go on any of these 2 prongs. So let's get this thing bolted in. Okay, so now that we got all the wiring done, we got the switch hooked up, everything is set. I haven't put back any of the carpet or anything yet, but I do want to test these things. So we're going to go ahead and put that fuse back into the fuse holder that we removed when we hooked up to the battery, and then we're going to open the door and see what happens. For those of you that are installing the light pit, we recommend that you, I don't know if you can see it here, I'm going to try to get the camera in there, but inside here, inside the pocket of the actual step, underneath that bumper that we put on, there's a little 45-degree bend where it meets the body. The lights fit perfectly right inside of there. Just put one on each side, that way the step gets a good amount of illumination, and that way when you open it up, the lights turn on, and when you shut it, they turn off and the step will close. Well, guys, there you have it. That is how you install the RockSlide Engineering step sliders on a JK. Again, same concept goes for the JL. So pretty simple. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest thing to do, I would put this at about a 6, maybe 7. I was alone on this, so some of the heavy lifting would have been a lot easier with 2 people. I think if you had a friend or relative helping you on this, it would make life a lot easier, especially when it comes to routing everything, moving everything, mounting everything. I mean, 2 people is always better than just 1. But with that said, I would put this at about a 6 or 7. It's not terribly hard. It is pretty much bolt on, plug in. There's really not much you have to really mod to make it work. But huge shout out to RockSlide Engineering. thank you so much for the opportunity for us to do this, especially to the owner of this vehicle. Her name is Rose. She is awesome. Very happy that she brought it in here for us to take care of her, and we're looking forward to many, many more fun projects. Make sure you check out RockSlide Engineering. I'll post a link in the description below. They have some awesome stuff for the Wranglers, and trust me when I say, just looking at this stuff and touching it and feeling it and putting it on, it's pure beef. It is some awesome designed and greatly made products. So I would highly recommend them. If I ever get one of these, I will definitely be hitting them up for some cool parts as well. Don't forget to check out our website at KSuspensionLifts.com. Again, I'll throw that in the description below. Make sure you subscribe, give a thumbs up, and as always, happy trails.